Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. Inside the dark and ancient palace, there were only 9 crystal balls giving out dimming light, illuminating the entire palace. When the 299 great beings flew into the palace, Duandong River was already sitting in the throne and looking down with a smile on his face. "You can start to know the real inheritance now that you've arrived here," he said. Inheritance. Real inheritance. Every power knew that only one could receive the complete inheritance. However, even if one could only receive part of the inheritance and bring back the information, it would be worth it. Even part of the inheritance might provide a way to transcend incarnation. "Once I find a way, I'll self-destruct," said some. "I have other bodies, so I can still live. But if I'm attacked by Duandong River, I might die forever." Many great beings who had overcome the first obstacle thought this way. There were 299 great beings. 2 of them had overcome the third obstacle, and 5 had overcome the second obstacle. There wouldn't be any chance for those who had only overcome the first obstacle. If they were smart, they should have just gathered some information and left immediately. Duandong River, seeing those great beings excited, said, "Don't hurry. Theoretically, you can all start the real inheritance. However, I have something to ask." "Ask." Everyone was anxious. They all cursed Duandong River for creating so much trouble. "I'll spare the other candidates, but I do want to ask the 7 Universe Supreme Masters." Duandong River looked down at the 7 Universe Supreme Masters. Out of the 7, 6 were from the first universe era while 1 was from the second. They were way behind this time, and they had been crushed during the rhinoceros game. "If you don't answer appropriately, you lose your chance to receive inheritance," said Duandong River. The 7 Universe Supreme Masters were shocked. "It's not that I'm not giving you a chance, but Duandong River has special requirements for miniature universes," said Duandong River. "Once a miniature universe is formed, the path will be restricted. If the structures of your miniature universes cannot meet my requirements, you won't be qualified to receive inheritance." The structures of miniature universes? All the Universe Supreme Masters were dazed. Universe Masters and Universe Knights are relatively weak and haven't formed miniature universes yet, said Duandong River. "They don't have this problem. The one who receives the inheritance from Duandong River will be instructed how to structure his miniature universe. However, they are already fixed. Let me ask you this. What are your miniature universes like?" Well, all the Supreme Masters were hesitant. They all desired to answer with the kind of miniature universes Duandong River wanted, yet they could just invent an answer. Duandong River wasn't dumb enough to accept it. At the same time, other 292 great beings were all relieved, as it was the Universe Supreme Masters who had to take the bullet. No wonder, thought Luo Feng. He understood now. No wonder the 2 Holy Lands didn't send any Universe Supreme Masters. It seems that Duandong River allows Universe Supreme Masters to become inheritors, but he has set an extremely high threshold, as well as special requirements for the structures of miniature universes. The Universe Supreme Masters don't even have miniature universes anymore, so there aren't any structures. But there are requirements for miniature universes. The Universe Masters, Universe Knights, and Undying Fighters broadened their horizons. They weren't in any trouble, but they were interested in learning the requirements for the structures of miniatures universes. "Just tell me." Duandong River frowned. "What are you waiting for? You, speak first." He pointed at Tai Bu Demon Master. Tai Bu Demon Master was hesitant, then said, "When I turned into a Universe Supreme Master from a Universe Master, I created 8 dimensions around the miniature universe. Gold, wood, water, fire, mud, wind, thunder, and light. They're all connected to the universe origin and stabilizing the small universe. Ordinary laws." Duandong River smirked and shook his head. Next. He looked at Second True Master. Tai Bu Demon Master shook his head and sighed, as he knew that he had no chance. Second True Master became anxious. He began to make things up. "I've created 10,081 miniature dimension spaces, and each of the dimension spaces is connected to the universe origin, leading to an energy space. Besides, the 10,081 spaces formed a space engraving in the shape of a sword. Just so. Duandong River looked to Second True Master. Second True Master kept speaking. Of course not. I've also created 1001 small dimensions, forming time engravings, which is also in the shape of a sword. The time engraving and space engraving are intertwined. You're just making things up, said Duandong River. Your miniature universe would have been in a mess if that were the case. Next. Haha. Some great beings couldn't help laughing. Second True Master glanced around, angry. He had, indeed, been making things up, as it was a completely imaginary structure. After all, when he was breeding the universe, he was very careful, and he didn't dare to be bold. When I became a Universe Supreme Master, God Kingdom became a small universe, which has 8 periphery worlds and 2 core worlds. It's extremely stable. Even though it's stable, it's difficult to improve. Duandong River shook his head. Next. All the Universe Supreme Masters were trying to make up lies to satisfy the requirements of Duandong River, but he was not fooled. Next. Haha, interesting. Are you sure your universe is like that? Mediocre. After hearing all the answers from the Universe Supreme Masters, he shook his head. Without the instructions from the more powerful beings, he said, you can't even think of a more sophisticated way to create universes. None of you 7 can inherit Duandong River, and you don't have enough potential. If you can solve 6,000 puzzles, we'll be willing to pay the price. However, you're too underqualified to receive the inheritance from my Duandong River. The 7 Universe Supreme Masters looked at each other, discouraged that they had come here trying to receive inheritance. They were at a disadvantage when playing the Rhinoceros Emperor game, and they were discriminated against because of their miniature universes. All the other 292 great beings were calm, even those great beings from the first universe era. After all, it wasn't discrimination against a particular power. Instead, none of the Universe Supreme Masters were qualified to enter the next round. I didn't expect that there were mysteries behind forming miniature universes, Luo Feng thought. That's right. Universe Supreme Masters are already the top beings in the original universe. As for the universe structures, only the greater beings from the ancient civilization can tell which one is better. This was what inheritance meant. It was based on the experience of the elder generations, and they found a path to becoming the pinnacle being. The elder generations paid a great price for it, and it was so invaluable that even the 2 ancestors from Holy Land longed for it. None of you 7 are qualified. Duandong River looked down. Aside from you 7, none of the candidates from the Divine Eye clan are qualified, and they're all going to die. Divine Eye clan? Luo Feng was dazed. What? Dear Bugmaster was surprised as well. The Divine Eye clan isn't qualified. Blue Blood Knight was confused. Impossible. Sorcerer Sprite Master said, shocked. Everyone from the Divine Eye clan was dazed. 7th True Master took out the supreme true treasure Ice Cliff Fortress. He immediately went into Ice Cliff Fortress, which grew larger. The fortress on the mountain looked elegant and delicate. 7th True Master transmitted his voice. Come in. Everyone from the Divine Eye clan entered Ice Cliff Fortress. All the 28 candidates from the Divine Eye clan entered Ice Cliff Fortress. It landed on the floor, followed by a furious voice saying, Master Duandong River, why aren't we qualified? Why do we all need to die? Why are we discriminated against? If you really don't want us to receive inheritance, why didn't you tell us when we were being inspected just like you did to the Skeleton Clan? If you had told us beforehand, we wouldn't have come in. The candidates from the Divine Eye clan were indeed infuriated. However, they all knew that they needed to have the argument from inside Ice Cliff Fortress. After all, even Duandong River couldn't hurt them if they were in a supreme true treasure palace, especially when Duandong River was already dead. That's right. Why the double standard? You gave us hope, and you let us despair. Why did you only tell us we're not qualified and we all have to die at this moment? Clearly, the Divine Eye clan was infuriated. Duandong River looked down. It's a request from my friend. I owe him one, so I said yes. A request. All the great beings from the pulse of the Divine Eye clan who were within Icecliff Fortress at that point in time were so angry with that friend of Duandong River that they wanted to eat his flesh, drink his blood, and gnaw his bone. They loathed him. The Divine Eye clan had 7 great miniature universes. In the first miniature universe, all 7 true masters were gathered together to monitor the progress of this round of inheritance of the pulse of Duandong River. They envied Luo Feng and Blue Blood Knight for being so outstanding. They were disheartened because their own clan did not have any good candidate, but they were also relieved and thankful for the fact that Sorcerer Sprite Master had been able to achieve a breakthrough of the second bottleneck at the very last minute. Just as they were feeling out of sorts regarding this major opportunity of transcending a reincarnation era, an unexpected line came from Duandong River. None from the pulse of the Divine Eye clan qualify. Thus all must die. This immediately caused all 7 true masters to blank out. It was as though they had been given a good slap right in the face. The 7 true masters felt a surge of despair and anger. Why must he sever all chances for their Divine Eye clan to try to transcend reincarnation? Why? Why must it be so unfair? Why? Now, they all knew why. It was because of a request from a friend of Duandong River. Because this friend had made a request, the Divine Eye clan had lost their chance, to the extent that 2 great universe supreme masters and numerous elites had to die. Who? Who the hell is it? This friend of Duandong River, who the hell is he? First true master let out a roar of rage. At that moment, the entire first miniature universe seemed to undergo a mind-blowing change between heaven and earth. Slight tremors could be felt. Who was the one who severed all our chances? Who? All the other true masters were similarly in extreme agony and rage. Within Icecliff Fortress, there were 28 candidates from the pulse of the Divine Eye clan, and all of them were in despair, anger, grievance, and reluctance. Lord Duandong River, second true master, transmitted his voice, which was filled with anger but still maintaining sanity. For this round of inheritance, our Divine Eye clan has abided with all your requirements, warding off that monster Quayo, decoding the Rhinoceros Emperor game, all of which were done without any acts of sabotage. Now, because of a request from someone whom none of us knows, you are going to exterminate the entire pulse of our Divine Eye clan? Duandong River looked down at Icecliff Fortress and said a detached tone, exterminating you all is a small matter that I happen to have chanced upon. Is there no chance that you could change your mind? Second true master was still reluctant to give up. Duandong River merely snorted his reply. How ridiculous. Upon hearing his reply, second true master finally gave in to his despair and shouted angrily, Duandong River, you are merely an old fellow who has died umpteen reincarnation eras ago. Just who are you to think of exterminating my entire pulse of Divine Eye clan? Not so easy. I really will like to see just how great the power of a dead fellow like you can be. Seventh true master's voice also resounded, Duandong River, just who is that friend of yours? Who would want to exterminate the pulse of my Divine Eye clan? Who? Who is it? Other angry voices shouted. They were all eager to know which bastard would want to cause the entire Divine Eye clan to fall into such a desperate situation. No rush, said Duandong River, looking down at them. I will let you all know. Then he pointed somewhere into the distance. One of the walls within the hall suddenly split into 2, revealing a passageway. Every great being from the various groups of powers from the universe ocean all looked over, as they were all eager to know just who would be able to cause Divine Eye clan to fall into such a predicament. Luo Feng also looked toward that passageway. He could vaguely see a blurred figure walking out slowly. He was covered in golden scales and took the form of a human. Behind him, he had a pair of golden wings, and 9 pairs of eyes swept the crowd. But no one dared to look him straight in the eyes. It's him. Luo Feng was shocked when he recognized the great being who had stepped out. Thundercoat Devil God. Thundercoat Devil God was a lone wandering universe supreme master from the second reincarnation era. Among all the universe supreme masters, he was considered average, and because he did not have a supreme true treasure, the true treasure Thundercoat made him a name for himself. It was merely a treasure like crazy demon extermination godly armor. Within Universe Ocean, he was one of the universe supreme masters who maintained an extremely low profile. Thundercoat. It's him. Duandong River's friend is Thundercoat Devil God. Not only was Luo Feng was taken aback, but all the groups of powers from East Emperor Holy Land, Purple Moon Holy Land, and the 3 reincarnation eras were shocked beyond words. Thundercoat Devil God, who kept such a low profile that there was almost no news about him at all, was unexpectedly associated with the matter of wanting to exterminate the Divine Eye clan. Second True Master was still in disbelief. Thundercoat. Are you the one who requested that Duandong River sever the only chance for my Divine Eye clan? You even want to exterminate the pulse of my Divine Eye clan? Thundercoat. It's you. Seventh True Master also could not believe his eyes. Thundercoat Devil God was just walking out of the passageway. At times, he would show a hideous expression. At other times, he would be laughing heartily but silently. He seemed to be a little out of control, and the moment he raised his head in soundless laughter, his entire body was slightly trembling. Through gritted teeth, he said, "That's right. It's me. It's me, Thundercoat. I, Thundercoat, am the one manipulating everything behind the scenes. I am the one who broke off all chances for your pulse of the Divine Eye clan. I am the one who wanted to exterminate you all. Second True Master and Seventh True Master. Ha. Just the dozen of you Universe Masters. Ha. Thundercoat Devil God's voice was trembling. You deserve to die. Seventh True Master bellowed. Thundercoat Devil God, you deserve death. Second True Master also shouted at the top of his lungs. In the great hall of Icecliff Fortress, voices were heard in succession. Thundercoat Devil God stood at the same spot with an aloof smile as he gazed at Icecliff Fortress. Deserve to die. I deserve death. You all are the ones who deserve to die. You and all of your Divine Eye clan ought to die. Death-deserving Divine Eye clan. When you all were fighting for a supreme true treasure, it was 7 True Masters joining forces to lay siege on Kong Luo and me. How vicious you all were. Kong Luo died, and I had to flee for dear life. Thundercoat Devil God gritted his teeth and continued. What easy targets for bullies we were, Kong Luo and myself, without being powerful enough, and without any supreme true treasure. Right. We were, indeed, ideal for bullying. You all from Divine Eye clan are so powerful. Throughout Universe Ocean, you are the only power that is comparable to the 2 great Holy Land universes. I am just a nobody with no supreme true treasure at all. How am I going to fight against you? Before you, Divine Eye clan, I stand alone. And I possess no formidable power. Am I considered anything at all? Thundercoat shook his head. Then he laughed crazily. I bet you did not expect this. This time, all of you have fallen for my plot. Thundercoat Devil God was staring hard at Icecliff Fortress, and his eyes seemed to be burning with flames. Who would have thought that I, Thundercoat Devil God, who stands alone with the weak power I wield, could bring such great loss to you Divine Eye clan? Why would Duandong River listen to you? A hoarse voice sounded from within Icecliff Fortress. Because I am the very first one to enter this boat of mausoleum, Thundercoat Devil God revealed with a cold laugh. Silence. Luo Feng and all were in great shock. To learn that they were not the first to enter the boat of mausoleum after all. It was Thundercoat Devil God. Yet from the looks of it, it seemed that he was speaking the truth. All of the great beings had just arrived at this hall, but Thundercoat Devil God had been here all along and had even made friends with Duandong River. Thundercoat Devil God laughed heartily and said, "Why do you think the boat of mausoleum is here? The boat of mausoleum should originally appear at the core land of the universe boat. The core is where universe supreme masters do not dare to intrude, as they only dare to traverse familiar regions. When the boat of mausoleum appeared, not even one of you knew. If I were a universe supreme master and even until the end, I am unable to receive that inheritance, do you all think you stand a chance for a turn? This is why I struck a deal with Duandong River. In fact, all of you should thank me." Thundercoat Devil God's gaze swept through the crowd and stopped when it reached Luo Feng. "Especially you, human Milky Way. All the more, you should thank me." Luo Feng merely smiled. Thundercoat Devil God also laughed and said, "I should thank you, too. Thank you for performing so well, for being among those with the greatest potential. and for not letting the Divine Eye clan snatch the first position away. There was silence throughout Icecliff Fortress. None of them had expected that Thundercoat Devil God, who seemed so harmless and weak without any supreme true treasure, could bring such a great loss to the Divine Eye clan. Usually, only Universe Masters at the level of 5 Chaos Master, Shadow Dust Master, and Sorcerer Sprite Master would dare confront Thundercoat in battle, and they would, at most, be able to bring him to a disadvantageous position. At this moment, all of them were aware that they were in a troublesome situation. Thundercoat Devil God said softly, "I gave you, Divine Eye clan, a chance to enter. I let you all rejoice and go crazy with joy, and then, at your most exciting moment, I shall drive you all straight to despair." Thundercoat Devil God gave a cold smile. If you Divine Eye clan had anyone at all, who could possibly emerge as the winner at decoding the Rhinoceros Emperor game, then I would have something to vex over. After all, Duandong River will not allow me to kill the one with the highest potential. But you, Divine Eye clan, are so useless. You are destined for total annihilation. Aren't you afraid of us, the Divine Eye clan? Second True Master, who was also in Icecliff Fortress, retorted with a cold smile. Who else could have potential great enough to be ranked number 1? Wouldn't it be that instead of putting us in distress, you are actually helping our clan, albeit unknowingly? Haha, Thundercoat Devil God snorted. Firstly, I do not trust the 3 reincarnation eras and 2 Holy Land universes. Instead, I allowed your clan to be ranked first. Secondly, I am prepared. If you, Divine Eye clan, were to be so lucky as to produce a great being of boundless potential, then I would rather face annihilation myself. But I will do it while dragging this great being to death along with me. He turned to look up at Duandong River with a slight bow. Lord Duandong River, please pardon my disrespect. I can understand. Duandong River nodded slightly. Thundercoat Devil God smiled. It was a relaxed smile. Lord Duandong River, this hatred has been kept in my heart for much too long. I finally have the chance to voice it. Lord Duandong River, you may take action now. All right. Duandong River nodded. Take action. 28 great beings from the pulse of Divine Eye clan, who were all within Icecliff Fortress, started to panic right away. Thundercoat, you want to exterminate us all? Second True Master roared. I would like to see how this old fellow, who has been dead for umpteen reincarnation eras, could have the ability to exterminate us all. You will know soon. Thundercoat Devil God's eyes flashed a trace of sympathy, then he snorted, and after you are all annihilated, your supreme true treasures will belong to me. Come, come, let us see how powerful this dead fellow can be. Second True Master and 7th True Master bellowed. Icecliff Fortress suddenly transformed into light and brought with it an immeasurable power as it crashed right toward Thundercoat Devil God. Freeze. Duandong River looked down and pointed into the distance. The surfaces of the walls within the entire hall started to release countless golden secret engravings, which took the form of golden threads that converged in midair, then surged toward Icecliff Fortress in a frenzied manner. Like silk over a cocoon, these golden threads wrapped up Icecliff Fortress, layer over layer, to completely bind and restrain it. Icecliff Fortress struggled with all its might, causing the surrounding void space to tremble. But the countless golden threads restrained Icecliff Fortress with such concrete layers that there was no way it could force its way out. Only restraining, yet not exterminating. A voice was heard from within Icecliff Fortress. This supreme true treasure is, after all, truly a supreme true treasure. How ridiculous. Duandong River looked down and gently pointed to the ground, which instantly split apart to reveal a deep abyss. Within that abyss, bouts of a terrifying aura were spreading out. Icecliff Fortress, under the restraint of the countless golden threads, seemed to be forced to move toward the ground with the entrance into the abyss. The secret technique left within this hall may not be able to exterminate you all, but the other dangerous lands that I have left within my inheritance will be more than enough to complete the deed. Supreme true treasure? How ridiculous. In my homeland, there is no such thing as a supreme true treasure. Duandong River shook his head with a sneer. Icecliff Fortress was struggling like mad. In it, 2nd True Master and 7th True Master were bellowing, but they were unable to stand against the countless golden threads pushing them directly into the terrifying abyss. There was a loud crash. Then, the entrance of the abyss closed, and the area where the ground had split open was returned to its original state. Peace resumed. The aura alone dissipated by the deep abyss that Icecliff Fortress was dragged into was enough to instill fear within Luophone. This ancient civilization that has been dead for umpteen reincarnation eras truly has very impressive methods. It is, indeed, a civilization worthy of creating the universe boat. Just Duandong River's remodeling of the boat of Mausoleum alone was able to make the boat of Mausoleum so terrifying. Over 200 great beings in the hall were listening intently. They wanted to listen to the voices from within the Icecliff Fortress, to judge what the fate of the Pulse of Divine Eye clan would be. After all, that is a supreme true treasure palace. It would be difficult to die in there. Haven't you heard? In Duandong River's hometown, that ancient civilization does not have such a thing known as a supreme true treasure. The writings found on countless true treasures belong to that civilization, so obviously, those countless true treasures were left behind by that ancient civilization. Since Duandong River dared to say so, then I'm afraid he really is certain about it. No such thing known as a supreme true treasure. What do you mean? Several great beings could not help discussing discreetly. Similarly, countless thoughts were surging in Luophone's mind. Right. That ancient civilization was incomparably powerful and had many beings who were more powerful than universe supreme masters. Even the ancestors of the two Holy Lands might not be a match for the pinnacle existences of that ancient civilization. With such a high field of vision, their way of viewing weapons would naturally be different. Based on his own experience within the space of the wings and various other adventures while roaming about for all these years, he had come to know that supreme true treasures were also different in terms of strength. Some were strong, the others were weak. In the eyes of the weaker ones, they were unable to unleash the ultimate power of supreme true treasures, so naturally, they were not able to judge which was strong and which was weak. However, to the ancestor of the Holy Lands, to Duandong River in the hands of a more terrifying existence, the ability to judge the strength of those true treasures came easily. Therefore, there was no such thing as a true treasure known to that ancient civilization. As for the so-called supreme true treasures, the ancient civilization had a clearer way to differentiate them. It was just that differentiation method was of little significance to him. Because in the current era, the most powerful beings were the universe supreme masters. As for the ancestors of the two Holy Lands, they had never stepped out of their Holy Land universes before. The groups of powers from the outside world were all suspicious of whether these two ancestors were still alive or not. Shewu Wings was actually composed of 6 pairs of wings. Luophone nodded silently. According to the snippets of memories from the spirit of the wings, there must have been 2 super great beings exchanging blows, and that caused Shewu Wings to become damaged. For such an incredible true treasure as Shewu Wings could be reduced to such a state, how terrifying could these 2 super great beings be? The most likely guess would be great beings from an ancient civilization. Upon comparison with the ancient civilization, after endless reincarnation eras, the deterioration of power was obviously severe. It would be so inferior that it might be rendered incomparable to that civilization. Just as Luophone was thinking about that ancient civilization, imagining how impressive it was, speculating why it disappeared with the passing of time. The ground within the hall split apart again, and at the spot where it split, a terrifying aura was exuded. 3 streaks of light flew out, and then suspended right before Thundercoat Devil God. These 3 items were, namely, a fist-sized ice jade sculpture of Icecliff Fortress, a strange-looking beast statue, and a dazzling tricolor pearl. These 3 treasures, said Duandong River. Based on your method of categorization, 2 are supreme true treasures, and the remaining one is more unique. It may not be as powerful as a supreme true treasure, but I find it quite suitable for you. Duandong River looked down and smiled. Thundercoat, do accept it. Thundercoat Devil God looked blankly at the 3 treasures before him. His eyes reflected complicated emotions. These 3 treasures. Icecliff Fortress? Isn't that true God Sector? Phantom Heart Pearl? The 200+ great beings, especially the 5 Universe Supreme Masters, could tell at first glance. Jealousy arose within them all, but the next moment, there was an uproar among them. Ah, these three treasures. Could it be the pulse of the Divine Eye clan has been annihilated? Second and seventh true masters are both within the Icecliff fortress. Could it be they both have died? Those universe masters who are able to self-destruct early enough can rely on their ability to divide their bodies and increase their chances of survival. But second true master and seventh true master do not have other divided bodies. They could not escape even if they wanted to. These two universe supreme masters have their own supreme true treasures with them. How could they have been killed so easily? 2. This is simply. That ancient civilization is simply terrifying. Over 200 great beings were smacking their tongues disdainfully. To the great beings, a supreme true treasure palace was an absolute safe place unless one was so reckless as to charge into another miniature universe, try enter a core ground, or tired of living to foolishly try to break through a reincarnation era or doing things that were out of the norm. If not any of these, then it would be impossible to bypass the protection of the supreme true treasure palace to annihilate the existence living within it. Field of vision. Based on Duandong River's field of vision, of course he would know that there was no such thing like an absolutely invincible true treasure. In his eyes, Icecliff Fortress. He speedily came to a verdict for the strengths and weaknesses of Icecliff Fortress. Over 200 great beings in the hall were surprised and envious. After all, they were talking about two true treasures and an illusion heart pearl, whereby illusion heart pearl was a unique treasure suitably used for executing illusionary attacks. Also, it had the function of guarding one's soul and was an extremely powerful treasure useful for soul-related areas. Thundercoat Devil God was a born natural in the execution of illusions. Thus, he was a suitable choice to entrust this treasure to. Illusion Heart Pearl will easily recognize you as its master. Duandong River looked down and said, as for the remaining two supreme true treasures, if your willpower is strong enough, you can also get Icecliff Fortress to recognize you as its master. True God Sector is the only difficult one. Getting it to recognize someone as its master is extremely difficult. You need to go back and ponder deeply. Spend some time with it. Perhaps you may still succeed. Thundercoat Devil God nodded with great excitement. He was not one to waste time either. On the spot, he quickly got to the task of the recognition of a master. The process of getting Illusion Heart Pearl and Icecliff Fortress to recognize him as their master was accomplished in one swift move. Haha. I may have various pinnacle true treasures, but the only one that is truly unique is Thundercoat. Thundercoat Devil Master sighed. Always being close to fighting and killing, but my skill of illusions never did have a good treasure to complement it. Now, with Illusion Heart Pearl, my means of attack are much stronger. Furthermore, with Icecliff Fortress as protection, the Divine Eye clan. Thundercoat Master's 9 pairs of eyes were twinkling but with a murderous shine. This evoked sighs from the other 200-odd great beings. The poor Divine Eye clan. With this great boost in power, would Thundercoat Devil God let them off easily the moment he got out? Thank you, Lord Duandong River. Thundercoat Devil God was so filled with gratitude that he gave a deep bow. We are done here. From where he sat high up in his throne, Duandong River gave a slight nod. You may also take your leave. As for the other candidates, Duandong River swept his gaze the other 200-odd great beings. Getting in contact with the inheritance is going to commence right away. Once you get into contact with the inheritance, those who failed must die, and to die means the annihilation of the soul. You various bodies will all perish. All of my pulse must have a soul to be able to start cultivation, so I have chosen only those of you with souls. So, naturally, I have my means of dealing with souls. Over 200 great beings were present, but every single one was in for a shock. Yes. Indeed, the Magicube instrument had been the key. Rock Giant Master, the Skeleton Clan, and a few other life forms had been eliminated because they were soulless. As for the other rock life forms, plant life forms who were able to enter thereafter were unique and all had souls. Only Milky Way and Blue Blood made it past the third bottleneck, Duandong River said coldly, looking down. The 2 of them are the most hopeful ones. And the 4 who managed to break through the second bottleneck. You all also have a trace of hope. As for those who made it past the first bottleneck, unless you display an outburst of potential within a short period of time, you will only be here to make up the numbers. Quickly, great beings started standing up, one after another, to volunteer their retreat. Peng Gong, master of the human race from the primal universe who had managed to pass the first bottleneck, another universe knight, and an undying godly soul all chose to back out of the competition. Both of you will retreat, Huge Axe creator instructed from the virtual universe. Being able to make it through the first bottleneck, you have already proven that you have extraordinary potential. Going on to vie for the inheritance would only mean courting death. Our race has Luo Feng here. It will be pointless for both of you to go. Peng Gong, you are one of the great beings supporting our race. There is no need for you to meet your end this way. Understood. You shall back out. As for other great beings from our race, let them try for a breakthrough. Remember, bring as many true treasures back as you can. A loss of so many true treasures will be a great blow to our race. Understood. Other great beings from our holy land will all try to break through the bottlenecks. You must gather enough information about the inheritance. You shall back out, too, and bring the supreme true treasure back. Understood. Various groups of powers were making speedy arrangements. Due to various reasons, be it to bring back their true treasures, or because the leaders were unwilling to see a certain great being from their clan becoming ashes and dust, regardless of whatever reason, the number of retreating figures in that hall was soaring. A short moment later, in that faintly hazy hall within the boat of Mausoleum, the number of great beings who decided to stay and continue to keep in contact with the inheritance dropped to 236. The others had decided to leave. All of you quickly leave. Duandong River pointed far away. The floodgate of the corridor opened. Exit through the same route you came in by. Duandong River shouted. 6 Universe Supreme Masters, including Thundercoat, several Universe Masters, and a small number of Universe Knights and undying godly souls speedily flew through the corridor and quickly disappeared in the distance. The floodgate was lowered to shut the place off again. The remaining 236 great beings in the hall were all resolute. Even if we die, we must send some information back. Luo Feng looked around, secretly in deep respect for out of the remaining 236. It was fated for 235 to be annihilated. Only he, Luo Feng, and Blue Blood Knight had the highest hope of survival. The other great beings were there to take a risk, especially those who merely passed the first bottleneck. It was almost as though they were there to meet doomsday. Every clan could rise and establish its footing in its own reincarnation era. This was because the great beings of that clan were willing to stand out at the 0 hour. In fact, all great beings had made their way up from the bottom and had encountered countless life and death situations. They had long since looked upon death lightly and expressed more interest in whether their deaths were worthy or worthless. For their clan to be able to transcend reincarnations to attain eternal existence, dying would be worth the price. All of you here are on the path of no return. Duandong River stood up. It is fate's calling that only one of you will receive the inheritance from the pulse of Duandong River. Follow me. Duandong River turned back to look at the throne. The throne and stone wall behind it suddenly split apart to reveal a vast and spacious individual space where there were endless splashing sounds of waterfalls. The fragrance of flowers wafted through the air, there was even the faint chirping of birds and the loud roars of beasts. This is the space of inheritance of the pulse of my Duandong River. There was a remote quality to Duandong River's eyes, and he slowly said, almost every generation of great beings was here in this space to receive the inheritance. It was just the same for me. This video will end here.